back, like where were you before like we started working together within fitness? Like what did that look like for you?
I mean, everything looked like a pretty mess, really. I literally had no clue on what to do. Um, I had obviously a coach beforehand, and I was training with him, but I just felt like I didn't feel independent, if that makes sense. It was more like eat this and do these workouts when you're with me, but without that coach, I literally had no guidance on what to do on my own, and I literally had to, I just didn't know what to do. So I was all over the place. And in terms of like my body, the way I looked, I wasn't happy at all. I didn't have much confidence. I had lost way too much weight, and it was completely the opposite of where I wanted to be. Yeah.
And like, so obviously that's where you were. You obviously stopped working with that coach as well, and there was that period of time. But like, what kind of, was there any doubts in your mind before like taking the leap to like join Stratford Sculpt, or like was there anything that necessarily initially maybe stopped you from kind of taking the leap?
Um, I was a bit scared of obviously starting it and having to repeat the process of losing more weight and literally not achieving what I actually wanted. I was more scared of what you were going to tell me, isn't like what your goal would be for me as opposed to what my goal is. And this is what I've experienced with different coaches. So that's what I was scared of. But obviously that all changed throughout the process.
So like what were you saying, like with previous coaches before, like there was a situation where you would kind of tell them what you wanted and then they would kind of tell you based on like what they wanted? Is that what you're saying?
It was yeah, it was completely the opposite. If I basically well, what I actually wanted was to gain weight, was to gain muscle, but it was the complete opposite. I felt like I was losing more fat, which is okay, but I felt like I wasn't really gaining much weight. It was literally just fat loss, and
Yeah.
it was just focused on that as opposed to building it at the same time, which is what I had done with you. So it was completely the opposite of what I wanted, and I felt like I actually lost my confidence even more when I started, and that's why I was so scared to start with someone else again and build that confidence back again. Yeah, and scared of actually eating. I think the diet was the main thing where I was being told not to eat the foods that I wanted. So obviously when you told me when I first started with you, I was completely shocked. I was like, what? Are you sure that I can eat what I want? Yeah, so that's what I was scared of, really.
No, it makes sense, especially if you went through like a period of time where you weren't necessarily getting the results that you wanted and you kept investing, and then obviously you,
Mhm.
why would this be any different, you know, like it's natural for you to.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Like, how did you feel like when you finally joined? Like what was your initial reaction?
I think that I remember our first call, and I obviously remember you even giving me tips, and I was telling you how obviously at the moment I am actually doing these exercises because I don't feel confident with certain parts of my body. And I told you that, look, I'm actually using the cable machine because I was a bit insecure about my hip dips. And you're like, well, that exercise would actually make them more prominent, as in like you could see it even more. So I actually gained a lot of not confidence only, but like I felt like it was the right thing. You were actually telling me that something completely opposite of what I had been told before. And from that conversation, from those exercises that you were giving me tips on, when you told me about the diet, what it would be like, that you're not the type of person that you would, tell you to stop eating just because you want to lose fat. You actually should eat more. It just gave me a lot more confidence, and I felt that this was the right thing to do, and I really wanted to, I basically didn't have when you first start with someone, you're always in two states of minds, and you don't tell that person.
So you're like,
But
did I make the right decision? Like, or like, is this a screw up kind of thing? Like,
yeah, no, 100%. And yeah, like the whole conversation, it just made me so much more at ease, and I was ready. I signed up there and then as well, I remember.
good, amazing. So like, fun stuff. Like, what results did you get with like our time together? Like, not just like the way your body changed, but just everything. What would you say?
Oh my God, like I don't even know where to start. I mean, I literally I feel like I achieved way more than what I wanted. And I know that I've been obviously doing it for a while now, but to the point where I've actually learned on to apply all these things on my own, I feel like that's the biggest achievement. Not just obviously like, you know, body wise, like what I want my body to look like. Mentally, it was like mainly a mental thing as opposed to just focused on your like on how you look. Um, but what I achieved exactly, obviously, I gained weight, good weight, muscle. My waist obviously dropped massively. My legs, honestly, my legs have never ever been this big, and I was so insecure with them, to the point where I can say this openly now, and I was so insecure about this, but when taking pictures on my social media, I used to obviously edit my pictures to look the way I had imagined myself to look like in my head, and I don't have to do that anymore, and I feel like that's honestly the biggest achievement ever.
I'll never forget when you told me at the beginning of the process that you edited your photos. I was like, what? Like,
Yeah,
you don't do
it
that.
was it literally affected me that much, the way I looked. Even like not being able to wear the clothes that I want, even though I wanted to pursue fashion blogging. It is such a big thing, and I can do that now without having to edit my pictures.
Do you feel like you are closer? Because we spoke about that when you started as well, about like not just doing this for physical reasons, but for also career reasons as well. Like, do you feel like you're closer to being able to pursue the fashion part of your life now as well?
Oh yeah, 100%. I've obviously been very busy, and I've had to put that obviously on pause right now until I get my things sorted. But if I was to go on and do it right now, I know that I can do it without having to worry about all the other things. So yeah, 100%.
Amazing. I love that. So like obviously physically, like you said, your lower body's grown, your waist has come down. Like from other, if we take away the obvious changes, like what would you say you've seen in terms of like your personal growth over this time that you probably didn't expect as much?
Um, I mean, I would say obviously confidence is obviously one of the biggest things, but I feel like I've actually gained more discipline on other aspects of my life through fitness. um i I would literally, if I wanted to do something, I would just leave it to the side and be like, you know what, I can't be asked, I'll deal with it at another time, basically. But with fitness, because it helped me get disciplined, you know, like just working out every day, even if you don't feel like it, it's all about consistency. So I felt like, and I feel like that right now, that I can obviously apply that in other areas of my life. I
Good.
think that's the biggest one, if I'm honest with you.
Amazing. I love that so much. Amazing. And like for my last question, like what would be your piece of advice for anyone that is considering joining SNS?
Oh my god, just do it. What are you waiting for? Honestly, it's really life changing. I sometimes I think to myself, why have I not done this before? And
Yeah.
obviously, because we used to work together, and I used to see you, you know, all the time at work, obviously training other people, and sometimes I just feel like I should have done it way sooner and not waited and gone through different coaches and stuff. But then again, it just made me realize that, you know, sometimes you have to go through that to get to this, basically. So yeah, no, but definitely, like, my advice would be just do it. You're definitely in the right hands with Elena. Not with the, I mean, I believe obviously there's a lot of people out there that are good,
Yeah.
but sometimes obviously you can go get through, I mean, meet like wrong ones as well. Like every time I go through Instagram as well, even recently, now that we're on lockdown, there's not much to do for myself. So when I scroll down, I do follow a lot of fitness pages. And funny enough, I came across this one page today where I was like, where I had seen this coach basically saying, because my cousin is training with this person, and they basically had this Christmas plan set up for their clients, and he basically said that if you drink alcohol, make sure that you skip 3 meals. You're only allowed to have these many cheat meals and stuff. And just from going through everything with you, the knowledge that I have gained, I can obviously tell now what's right and what's wrong. So it's not just about obviously what, you know, like what you want to achieve, but understanding it as well. That sometimes you do all these things and it can affect you not just physically, but mentally as well. So literally I'd recommend someone to just, you know, just go for it.
Thank you so much. And also understanding I don't believe in bad coaches. I just feel like not there's different coaches for different people, and maybe what you saw wouldn't, like, you'd look at that and be like, yeah, right, like I'd never do that. But like maybe for other people it would work for them, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's just because I've been through it, and I just feel like for me, it's definitely not the right thing. So obviously, I'm glad that I done it through you.
Thank you so much. And that was my last question, but I just had a quick one as well. Like, how do you feel in terms of like the support through the coaching as well? Because that is super important. And like, how do you feel like that was for you as well?
I didn't expect it to be so much. I think you were there more than necessary. Every time, obviously, I just love how the program that you use, the app that you use, is so handy because it's easy to obviously, you know, like if you sometimes obviously if you text through text message or phone calls, it's not so, you know, it can get a bit personal as well. I love the way the system works, that if you need something, you literally just get in touch and you always get back to that person. The coaching calls, the how the progress, the pictures, the exercises, diet, everything's linked into one app. But honestly, the support, I feel like it was literally outstanding. The fact that you're there every single day, even if you're busy, and I know how busy you are. So yeah, it's crazy. It's actually really, really good. It's pretty impressive.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Especially as you're such a get on with things by yourself kind of girl. So I appreciate that coming from you a lot. But honestly, like,
You get that obviously because you sometimes you get so busy, and being a coach as well, I can understand how busy it can get, and just the fact that you're always there. And I've seen you being obviously busy as well, through you got your personal life, you've got your work, the way you just handle things is just, you know, I wouldn't be able to do it myself. That's why I'm so impressed. That's why I'm saying it.
no, honestly, like, obviously we worked together for a lovely amount of time. And you were like, you are an absolute pleasure to coach. Like, you never had any complaints. Like, you were just so smooth sailing from like the start to the end. Honestly, like, I can't thank you enough for like trusting me to take over that part of your life. And I'm like so excited for like where your body's going to go from here, and how you're going to take all of that information, and just
Mhm.
because it's only up from here for you. Like, you know exactly what you need to do. So like, I know your body and your mental's only going to get better from here.
Yeah, then